record. Okay, so let's take a peek at our homework assignment. So this is going to be kind of going over the requirements and then getting you started on at least a couple of them, I think. So in module 2 here, week 2, you're going to notice at the bottom, our AutoCAD stuff is going to be the chapter 3 drawings. Okay, so module 2 assignment, chapter 3 drawings. Click on that. And then this is going to be, your assignment. I did add down here at the bottom, upload your files for each one of these, not the screenshots. Okay, so it's going to be the actual AutoCAD files. So make sure you put them in a directory, maybe chunk them together. So then when you upload these, you should be able to then easily select them and they'll be up as, and you'll upload them as separate files. I do want to see them. And the reason I want to see them is because in this case, because we're exercising some of these modifies, we're using object snaps. I want to be sure that corners are coming together. I want to be sure that we don't have overlaps or things that aren't quite there. And I can only do that by zooming in on the geometry. Yes, it's going to take me a little bit more to look at these. That's okay. But it's really important at this level that we are doing the good stuff. And I want you to pay attention to that too. As you're creating your geometry, I don't want you to be like, oh, that's good enough. Never good enough. We want it to be, properly constructed. And so I want to point some of those things out. Now, I did have a couple of people ask the question, why would I do a polyline rather than a regular line? Okay. So I'm going to answer that before we go into the homework. So let's go back over here. And you'll notice the difference. Now, we didn't explode on this. When you do your assignment, don't do the explode. Have 2 polylines here for that tutorial. Save the file, and then that's the one that you're going to upload. I want to see 2 polylines, okay? And it's easy for me to see 2 polylines. I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to go over one, and I'm going to go over the other, and I'll know right away, do you have polylines, because they'll be together. So 2 polylines for this one constructed. I want to make sure that you do that. Now, you might say, well, if there really isn't any difference, I mean, in the end, they're all connected. Yes, they are. Number one, to create the offset, in this case, for the gasket, it was more efficient to do the polyline because then I just had to do offset once, as opposed to doing the offset for all of the entities, as well as I didn't have to go back and do the trim. So efficiency, in this case, because of it being a gasket and the offset being the same all the way around. The second reason that a polyline might be asked of you, or why you would want to consider it, is, let's say I'm gonna get rid of the outside here. Okay, I'm gonna delete this, and let's say I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna kind of okay. Let's say somebody wants to cut this outside out on a laser cutter. It's a metal piece. And when they do that, you need to export what they call a DXF file. And the DXF file just like flattens this out, and it only gives the geometry. So if there's dimensions or anything like that on that, it's not going to be there. And a DXF file is a profile that a machine tool can read. So for instance, a laser cutter. Okay. Now you can imagine you have a piece of metal, you've got a laser, and it wants to cut through, but it needs to follow the profile that you created. Now you notice that if this is like this, there's going to be a break. And when it tries to read that DXF, it's going to get an error. Okay. So somebody then is going to have to, put the geometry back in place and blah, blah, blah. So first of all, a polyline is going to give a nice all the way around way of putting that together. But also it makes sure that your geometry is together, because it wouldn't be able to join it if it wasn't. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So it's a nice check in that sense as well. So, so those would be reasons why you would want to change something to a polyline, being efficient, but then also thinking about the output. Like, is somebody else or some other machine or some other process down the line going to use my geometry? And it's a good way to make sure everything is all set. Okay. All right. So, so any other questions about that? Hopefully that answers that and makes more clear. Okay. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go underneath my camera here, and we're going to focus on the homework that you have assigned. Okay. So let's first look at the homework. So at the end of the chapter on page 340 is where our drawings start. And the ones that I have assigned for you, I believe, are almost all of them, right? Are there 8 of them? There must be, because it's 90 points. You get 10 points for the tutorial. So don't forget the gasket. That's your first one. And then you're going to do all the problems at the end. You get to do all the problems. So this is really good practice because you're going to be utilizing many of those things that we just got done demonstrating and talking about. So on the first one here, you might look at these like, are these really real parts? Not necessarily. They're going to be things that are just going to emphasize and get practice at. So as we look at this, you're going to notice that we've got some squares, you know, around the outside, we've got some lines. And I'm going to ask you, what commands do you think you're going to be using here? And we're going to get started on at least the first couple here. What commands do you think you'd be using? And if you're on virtually, you can shout it out or put it in the chat. I can look. So what are some commands you're anticipating using with this first one? Go ahead. Polygon. Yeah, we haven't done that one yet, but that's creating a shape and it's going to be like a polyline in the end. And I'm actually going to demonstrate it so that you can see how that works. Polygon is going to be one. I heard something else. I heard offset, right? Offset is going to be another one. I'm in the chat. We've got a chat going. Offset, copy. Yes. Copy, offset, absolutely. So you're already, kind of devising your plan. So as with anything else, there are multiple ways. I'm seeing another one. Mirror. Yes, we are going to use mirror. Good, Caleb. All right. So as we're looking here, you always want to kind of devise a little bit of a plan on how you anticipate constructing this. And we'll do that. All right. So before we kind of go and go into it specifically, we're going to look at each one of these. Divide. Ooh, we could maybe use divide. Good. Because you could divide that into equal segments and then start the line on each one. Yeah. Multiple ways. Awesome. The next one we have is, and before I move on, things that I'm going to be looking for in your files, not screenshots, files. Is I'm going to be looking that your edges are coming together. I'm going to be looking that your offsets, look good. I'm going to be looking that your trims, aren't going beyond the borders. Okay. And sometimes those can be fudged a little bit when we're doing just a screenshot. And that's why the file is I'm going to check those on there. I'm not trying to be nitpicky because it's going to do 2 things. Number one, yes, I'm going to check to see if you did it. But number 2, now as you're doing your assignments, you're going to be hyper active or hyper focused on making sure that those things are happening. Okay. And I've already had some questions where people are like, oh, when I created it, I don't see it. Is that okay? No, we've got to have those edges and those corners coming together. And sometimes it means you might have to start over. It's okay. It is okay. Because what's our saying? We should have it like somewhere on the wall, or we should make t-shirts. Our saying is, you're going to hear me say a lot, don't worry. You get to do it a second time and it's going to go faster. It's always faster the second time around. Okay. The next one that we have here is going to be our interlacement design. Okay. Ideas about, now I will say this circle around the outside, you do not have to add. It just kind of gives you a view of, how you could construct it, but that's just kind of a construction line around the outside. So in this case, any ideas of how we are maybe going to approach this one? What was that? Polygons. Yes. What else? If I want to get those spaces in between. Offset, trim is going to come into effect. Absolutely. Let me see in the chat. We've got offset. Yep. Say that again. It means that it's one side is 2 inches and the other side is 2 inches. So it's a 2-inch square. So 2 and 2 is going to be our distance. You can also use mirror maybe. Yes. Well, okay. I'm going to talk about that. As we look at the proportions here, you have to use the dimensions that are here. And unfortunately for this one, when you draw it, your thickness is it looks further apart than what the drawing shows. So you have to use the dimensions, but know that the drawing itself, you're going to have your distances. The 0.2 is definitely going to be thicker on your drawing than what it looks like on here, but use the dimensions that are there anyway. Okay. Don't change the dimensions. Okay. So we'll be looking at that one too. These 2 for sure, we're going to get started today. Next one. I guess we're going to use polygons and circles for this one, and that is true. Okay, so we're going to practice those. Positioning spacer. This one, we're going to be doing some circles. We're going to be doing some like tangent radius for the arcs going over. We're going to be using trim. Yeah, these are good. Those are good. We turn over here. This will be another one I can help you guys with if you feel like you want it. Notice where dimensions are coming from. I would probably start everything out here first as your 0, 0, but then also note that the top or the quadrant of that circle is where the center of this portion comes from. Okay, so it's going to be the radius that our curved slot is on. It's going to be, you know, the radius that we have that radius of 6 on. So so just be aware of that. The next one down below, this one is just kind of practicing. I wouldn't say you have to use a poly line here. This can remain separate lines, but then just creating and making sure that your geometry is good and everything is trimmed and coming together. Over here, this one looks like an opportunity for some mirroring, right? Because you've got the same thing on either side. Got an arc. There's going to be some trimming here. Then you'll notice vent cover. This one is going to be 2. This is going to be a nice, probably create one entity, mirror over this mirror line, and then mirror the 2 on the other side. We'll see how we can do that. And then that's it. All right. So these look good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with those first 2 to kind of get you started. And then between today and the next time that we meet, which is on Friday, we will, you know, I'll do any demonstrations and continue to kind of show you how to do these items. Okay. And then just the reminder, we're handing in files for this assignment as opposed to the screenshots. Okay. All right. So we're gonna look first at this very first one. So you'll notice that we are in English units, which we're already set up at. So I'm going to go back to AutoCAD. And I am simply going to kind of zoom out a little bit here, and I'm going to erase my gasket. There we go. Okay. And my 0, 0 there is on my screen. So let's kind of go back here and devise our plans. So you'll notice that at the center here, okay, there's a center. I'm going to set that as my 0, 0. All right. And what I'm going to do, I'm given the dimensions for the square that is sitting here, right here. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our square in place, and its center is going to be at the 0, 0. Get over here. Now, I'm going to create this as a polygon. So if we go over, you're going to notice that next to arc to the right, we have a rectangle. Okay. And if I arrow down here, you're going to notice that we have polygon. Now, polygon is going to create an item that is going to be like a polyline. So when I create this, whether it's, you can do it, you know, you can do a square, you can do however many sides you want, and we're going to use it for the square. Once we create it, it's going to join all 4 sides. Okay. So it's going to be a polyline in the end. We can always explode it if we don't want to, but it's an efficient way to make a square all at once. Additionally, a polygon will have a geometric center. Okay. If we just create a regular square with lines around the outside, we'd have to strategically kind of place where we're starting and ending our lines if we wanted it to be about a center. But when we have a polygon, it has a geometric center that we can click, just like a circle. So we're going to click polygon. And as we go into our drawing area, the first thing it's going to ask is enter in the number of sides. So I want 4 sides because mine is going to be a square. Okay. So I'm going to do 4. And then it says specify the center. This is where I'm going to key in 0, 0. You could left click and just start wherever, but I'm going to key in 0, 0 just because I have it. 0, 0. Enter. I'm going to stop for just a second. I'm going to set my door to that thing. We just had one person leave. I don't want them to get stuck outside. All right, so I'm back. Now it's going to ask, is this polygon going to be inscribed in a circle or circumscribed about a circle? Inscribed, so it means that the polygon is going to be inside of the circle. So if we look back, I always have to think about this, and I end up doing it and then figuring out. So if I'm inscribed in a circle, that means that a circle would go around the outside, okay, and these edges would touch, okay. Circumscribed about a circle is that the circle is going to be in here. So we are going to be circumscribed, because then I can specify the diameter of the circle across the flats, okay? And that's what I want. I want those across the flats to be 3, which is going to be the diameter of my circle. So I'm going to say circumscribed about a circle. And then now you'll notice that I get this. So right now, if I click, it's going to be like at a skewed angle, right? So I need to add my ortho on. Put my ortho on so that whether I go horizontal or vertical, I've got a nice square here, and it's sitting the way that I want it to. Okay. Now the next question is, what do I want my radius to be? So what's the radius of the circle? Now remember, the circle's on the inside, so it's like this distance I want to specify. The distance across the flats on this square is 3. So the half distance from the center is going to be 1.5. There we go. Okay. Now, if you wanted to check to see if it worked out, you can put a quick dimension in place. Okay. I'm going to move this out of the way. To put a quick dimension in place, we haven't really done this. If you go up here, there is a linear dimension. I can click on that. And then if I go to one endpoint and the other endpoint, and I just like click a third time to place that dimension, I can see that it's at 3 inches, and that's what I want. And I know that it's a square, so it's going to be 3 on all sides. So I'm just going to simply undo or delete that dimension, and it's just a confirmation that I'm good. So now I've got that square in place. Now, as I look at it, if I go over the top and hover, notice it's all one entity. So all 4 sides kind of light up, and I've got, if you would, a polyline around the outside. Now that's convenient, right? Because you'll notice that to create the next squares that are on the inside, I can just do an offset, and it's gonna do it for me. If I do it as separate lines and I offset, I'm gonna have the edges to trim. Okay, so doing it this way as a polygon, it being a polyline is gonna be good. So the offset distance for all of these is 0.25, and I've just got to count how many squares we have. So if I go back over here and I look underneath, I have this outside one. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's 6. We'll see. Okay. So I'm going to do my offset command, and I'm going to specify the distance of 0.25. Follow your command line. Select the object. That's going to be 1. Select the last one. Inside is going to be 2. Remember, I'm going to select and push to the side I want to offset 2, and then just click when I get there. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more is 6. Okay. Once I get that last one in, escape. If you don't use the polygon and you have separate lines, you're doing a lot of trimming, okay, to get that. A lot of trimming. So this way it saves all of that. So again, an efficiency is nice about this. Okay. The next one that we're going to do is we are going to go back to here. And the next one that we're going to do is we're going to put this outside square around the outside. Okay. So the outside square, as we look at this, and we kind of see if this, we got to decide if this is going to be, we're going to put it in as another polygon again. We have to decide, is this going to be an inscribed or a circumscribed? So as I go across, I need the dimension across here to, if we look at the circle, if it would be on the inside, to be the dimension across, but that's not like a radius or a diameter. So if I look on the outside, I am going to be, I think I'm going to be inscribed, because I'm going to go to the, oh no, it's going to be circumscribed. I'm going to go to the flat. I'm going to be okay, because I can then select the corner as opposed to putting a dimension in here. So let's go back over here. It's going to be the same thing, circumscribed. but this time I'm going to turn my ortho off. Okay, I'm going to turn my ortho off because I don't want it to be horizontal or vertical and just be square, you know, the flats this way. I'm going to have to turn it on its end. So we'll see how we do that. So turn your ortho off, go back up to polygon. I'm going to click on that. I'm still going to be 4 sides. I'm going to specify my center. Now, remember we put this at 0, 0, but if you didn't, that's okay, because there is a geometric center that we can grab. The only place that we can get it, unfortunately, it's not on our object snaps. We have to do our shift right mouse button, and we're going to notice that there is geometric center right below the circle here. It is not on the object snaps toolbar, unfortunately. It's not used very often. So make sure you your shift right mouse button, click on geometric center, and then now it's going to click to that center. If you had it set at 0, 0, you're fine. Now we want to do circumscribed again. Okay. And now notice that we've got that endpoint, right? And all we're going to do, if you have ortho on right now, it's only letting you go vertical or horizontal. Toggle ortho off or hit the F8 key. And then notice that we're going to grab this and we're going to go to the intersection or endpoint. If you're not getting a click, you need to do the intersection or endpoint. So intersection is going to be this one right here on our object snap, snap to intersection. And we want to grab one of the endpoints here, one of the intersections to the outside of. So I'm going to click on that. Okay. Now this is where you're going to check. You're going to go and you're going to say, okay, let me check my corners. Are they all meeting to the outside of that? Yes, they are. If you zoom in a bunch of times and it's not changing, you're good. And then if you want to check the another corner, go to the outside here. This is what I'm going to do on your drawing. This is exactly what I'm going to do. And it lets me know, did you go to the right place? And did you create it the way you were supposed to? Okay. All right. So this eliminates having to draw lines perpendicular, rotating them, putting on the angles, all that kind of stuff. So polygon. Yes, Ashton. Oh, okay. All right. No, it's okay. Now, if you already created this, you might say to me, I already created it. And when I zoom in, it's not okay. Is that going to get points off? Yeah. Yeah. All right. So if you did create it and you didn't do it the way I said, using the polygons to ensure that you get these corners, then just do it over again. It's going to go quicker the second time around. It's all good. Okay. All right. So we're there. We're there. Any questions just right now as we're talking? Okay. All right. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put these lines up here, right? Let's go back. I want to put these in place. Now, how I'm going to do it is I'm going to create my tallest one first, and I'm going to start my line here, and I'm going to say that I want it to be perpendicular to that outside surface. Okay, so I'm going to use my object snaps for that. So I'm going to put that one in place, and then we're going to do our offsets from there. So I'm going to do my line command. I'm going to specify that intersection or endpoint, and then you're going to notice that it's not going to want to go perpendicular because my running object snaps do not have perpendicular selected. So I'm going to do my shift right mouse button and do perpendicular. And now it's going to be there. Okay. Escape. Do not try to fudge that. All right. I will check it. I will check. I'm going to dimension it. Is it 90 degrees? Right. Let's do it again. I'm going to show you how I did that, and I'll show you the other way to do it too. So line, grab the endpoint, and then you can go over here and you can find perpendicular right there. And then go to the top there and it'll snap perpendicular. Make sure you do that. Object snaps, really, really important. They become your friends. All right, so now offset. We know how to use the offset command. So we're going to go up, use the offset, go back down here, make sure that our offset is correct. And it is. All of these are 1/4 of an inch, and that's what we used before. So we can just hit enter to accept that. And now you're going to select. I'm going to zoom in so I just see this portion and pan a little bit. I want to see the whole line. And I'm going to select that line, and I'm going to just move my cursor to the right, and I'm going to click. I'm going to select that line that I just created, move to the right, and then click. Select, click, select, click till I get all the way to the end, which that should be it. Okay. Now, you could go and click all of these on the other side too, right? It really isn't that big of a deal. I probably would do that. I would stay in the offset command and I would do that. But let's try to be a little bit more efficient, fewer clicks. So now you'll notice that these lines are extending to the outside, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim these off. So I'm going to go up to my trim command and I'm going to left click and I'm going to drag across and then release to get rid of all those, or separately do them. It's up to you. You can do the tops where you want to get rid of. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to mirror this on the other side. Okay. So it saves me the extra offsets and the extra trim. So I'm going to escape because it wants to keep going here. Notice I have that box by my cursor, back to my normal cursor. And we're going to look at that mirror command. So mirror command is when I have something that I want to copy. I have a line of symmetry or a mirror line, and I want what's on one side to be copied over to the other. Now, mirror can be used as just mirroring it over and moving it, you know, as a mirror over that line of symmetry, or it can be as a copy, which most often it's used, but you do have that option during the command. So we'll watch for that. So we're going to do mirror. And now it says select your objects. Now, this is where you have to be strategic. We are not going to select the tallest vertical line. That's going to be our line of symmetry, our mirror line. So what we are going to select, what we want to mirror, is going to be the ones to the right here, each one of these. And I'm going to singly select those. Okay. Once those are selected, I'm going to hit enter. And now I'm going to do my first point on my mirror line. Okay, first point on my mirror line. I'm going to go up to the top, whether it's the top or the bottom, but I'm going to use this line as my mirror line and then the bottom down here. Now, before we hit enter, it says, do you want to erase the source objects? Those were the ones that we selected to mirror. And the default is no, because most often people do want to mirror and have both on both sides. But if you don't, if you just literally want to mirror it and get rid of that old copy, you would answer yes here. The default is no, so you can just hit enter. Or you can select it. Okay. And then now we've got it on the other side. How good is that? Now, do you see how you could mirror this top, all of these on the top, and mirror it to the bottom? You could. So I'm going to let you finish this one out. How about that? We've gotten you, this far. All right. So remember the things I'm going to be looking for. I'm going to be zooming in, making edges, making sure trims are good, making sure your distances are good, that they're coming out. So pay attention to those details, that construction. Good stuff. All right. Interlacement design. Let's go to our next one. Interlacement design. This is also going to be in English units. And here again, we are going to lean on creating polygons and having a geometric center here. Okay, so let's see how we're going to do this. So we are going to create polygons for the squares on the inside. We're going to offset them. And then we're going to create the octagon around the outside as well, using a polygon and then offsetting it and then doing some trimming. So let me go back to AutoCAD. You're going to want to save this as its own file, right? Don't, and I guess I should have maybe prefaced this. I hope nobody did this, but if you did, you'll just have to redo it. Not really, you don't have to redo it. You'll just have to save it without the other stuff. But don't have one file with all the drawings in it. Have separate files for each one of these. So like you want to call that one, the first one, lines and squares problem, or exercise 1. I really don't care. And then the next one is interlacement design. Okay, and so on. So I'm going to get rid of this one and have a new file for each one. So I'm going to erase, get rid of this, enter. And I'm going to start my 0, 0 by putting a polygon square. So polygon 4 was what I used last time. So I can just hit enter and I'm going to put 0, 0 for my center. And this one, again, this is a 2-inch square. This is going to be circumscribed about a circle. So I am going to keep that. It's going to be circumscribed. Not very often is it inscribed. So circumscribe, I'm going to put my ortho on. Okay, so I can only make, I'm going to make this first one the horizontal, and then I need to add the radius of the circle. This is the distance across. And so that is going to be, it's a 2-inch square. So that means the distance across is 2 inches. So the radius of the circle is 1. All right. Now this is a polygon. And if you want to check it, I'm going to add that dimension outside. Yep. So I'm 2 inches and it's square. So I'm good to go. So I'm just going to hit undo to get rid of that. It's a nice confirmation. Now I'm going to offset. If I look back here, I created the outside of that square. Okay. So I'm going to offset it by 0.2. So go to offset. Distance is 0.2. And I'm going to go from the outside in. Okay. So as you can already see, yeah, it looks like it's thicker than what the picture shows. So don't worry about the picture. Use the dimensions. Yes, it's going to be thicker. Yes. The offset is 0.2. I use the offset command. So right here is the offset. And then I put my number in 0.2 and then selected the outside and then moved to the inside and clicked. Yep. All right. Now what we want to do, let's go back over here underneath. We're going to create now another square, but it's going to be rotated 45 degrees. Okay. Now I could go back in and I could do the polygon with the offset and put it in at the 45 degrees, but I'm going to show you how we can use the rotate copy command to do this. Okay. So you're getting all these bonuses today, all these ways of doing things. If you did it differently and you did it where you did the polygon again, but then you rotated it or you went to, a corner, that's totally fine. All right. Or you rotated it 45 degrees. That's okay. That's okay. But I can use the rotate command, but I'm going to do a rotate copy. So we got to watch our command line. So it says here first, we want to select our objects. So I'm going to select the outside and the inside because I can do this at the same time. And then I'm just going to hit enter. I want to specify my base point. I can put in 0, 0 if I want to, or I can select that geometric center. And I'm going to do that just so you get a good a look at that again. Remember, geometric center is only on my shift right mouse button. And I'm going to go to geometric center. And then I'm just going to go to the outside of either one of these and I'm going to click there. And now you're kind of seeing what's happening, right? So I need to take ortho off again. All right. And what I need to do is I'm going to rotate this 45 degrees or onto one of those triangles, right? Or I can enter in what the reference angle would be. I can do 45, but I don't have to. Now, before you click, if you clicked, you'll notice that it didn't leave a copy behind. I want to leave a copy behind. So down here on my prompt, this is why we always watch our command line. Before I actually put that angle in, I want to say C. Okay. C for copy or click on copy, right? And what that means is it's going to leave the copy behind. So do you see now in the background, it's a solid rather than a phantom. And now I can simply click one of those corners of the previous. Let me do it again. Go ahead. Could you prop the door then so you can get back in? So I'm going to do an undo here. I'm going to redo that command because there is some stuff we have to pay attention to. So we're going to do rotate. We're going to click both, select both, enter, base position, shift right mouse button. I like grabbing the geometry center. Then I know for sure. Turn your ortho off if it's on. You can either click, you can either toggle F8 or hit the icon down here. Notice that when I rotate, it's just going to rotate right now and it's not going to leave the copy behind. So make sure you either hit C, enter, or just click copy down here. And now it's going to leave that copy behind. And I could put in right now 45 degrees, like what's the reference angle? Or I can simply click one of these corners because it is 45 degrees because it's a square. And when I click it, it places it. And now I have it over the top. See that? And again, notice the thickness of the offsets are thicker than what it looks like in the picture in the book, and that's okay. Follow the dimensions. All right, so good. Questions? All right, so now I need to put my octagon around the outside. Let's look. Okay, so the octagon across here, that's going to be the inside. So I'm pretty sure this is circumscribed again, but if we have to go inscribed, don't be surprised. I end up, I forget every time. I forget. Can't keep it in my brain anymore. All right, so we're going to go back up to polygon. This time, how many sides do we have? We have 4, right? 4. No, 8. I'm sorry, 4 for the square. We have an octagon. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 8. Center position, specify the center. So here we can go 0, 0 again, 0, 0, or the geometric center. All right, we're going to hope for the best. We're going to go circumscribed. Circumscribed. We'll see how this goes. Circumscribed. Oh, it's going to work. So good. So now what you're going to do, notice if you have your endpoint on your running object snaps, you're going to go to one of the endpoints, any one of them, and now you're going to click on it and it'll be there. Okay. And then to get the outside offset, we're simply going to do the offset command again. Remember, it's down below, 2 down below the eraser. My offset is still 0.2. I'm going to select that outside octagon. I'm going to push to the outside and I'm going to left click and done. Now, not completely done, am I? What do I have left to do? You get to trim, right? So on the inside here, there's going to be trim. Now, even though these are polygons, what's going to happen is you can trim a polygon, but then it automatically explodes as you're trimming it. So it's not going to be a polygon anymore after. So that's why waiting to do your trim at the very end is wise, because then you can get the advantage of the polygon. So I've just got to kind of look here. I think, whoops, this one I get rid of, this one I get rid of, and then these two, and so on all the way around. So do your trimming last. Once you trim, like I said, it's not going to be the polygons. You're going to have these little gaps. Okay. And that's okay. That's okay. So that'll be finishing that one up. So usually there's a couple of questions on how to get those edges, because now when I go in, the way that we constructed it, all of these little edges are going to be, no matter how close I get, and I'm zooming, they're going to stay together. And that's what I'm going to be checking. So pay attention to that before you hand in. All right. So what I want you to do, I know we're at about, 10 o'clock-ish, a little after 10. I'm going to let you work for a little while independently. And if anybody has any questions, I can always do a demo again, but I'm going to stop our kind of introduction to our homework here. Remember, when I go back to Canvas and I'm handing in this time, it's not screenshots. It's going to be uploading the files. Call the files their name. I think that's really the best. Call the files their name, upload them. So there'll be 9 files that you're going to upload to Canvas. Okay. And then I'll check those individual files for the things that I've been talking about. Okay. So I'm going to let you work. I'm going to let you work and let me know how I can help you.